introductions, okay, before we start our sessions. I know some of you from PPIB, right? Okay, some of you from FPEP. Okay, today I would like to share some of my experience or my knowledge about research design. Okay, I think most of you understand what is research design, is it right? A little bit maybe, or maybe 50%, or some of you, if new students, maybe only 5% or 10%, but at least you have to understand for research design. Hopefully our session for today, you can get something. Okay, I want you to bring back something at least. Okay, from my sharing today, you can get back 10% or 20% is good enough. All right, okay. So hopefully everybody can get some benefit from me. Okay, right. Okay, today we only have, when I look at the VBACs here, the time will start from 9 to 11, right? Okay, so okay, I will start here. I would like to self-introduction about myself. So before we continue our session, all right? So something about me. Okay, maybe some of you say, you don't know me because I'm not from FPEP. It's fine. Okay, so today I'm going to tell you who am I, okay? All right, so first thing I would like to tell you about my major research interest, okay? So my research interest focus on studying consumer behavior. Maybe some of you are interested as well. I'm going for the emotions as well, and the psychology and behavior of frontline service employees, and the relationship between employees and customers. Okay, this is my research interest. So for your information, I'm graduated from University of New South Wales. In the short name, we call it UNSW in Australia, Sydney, Australia, in 2017. So means that I already have graduated for near 4 years. Okay, yeah. Okay, for this, in these 4 years, I already published a certain papers. I think I have 8 papers so far. All the papers have appeared in International Journal of Research in Marketing, European Journal of Marketing, Journal of Business Research, Australian Journal of Management, Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services, Australasian Marketing Journal, and Journal of Service Theory and Practice. Okay, so all these journals actually in Q1. Okay, in Q1. So I have a certain means experience in experimental research, of course in survey research as well. Okay, so currently I'm a senior lecturer in PPIB, teaching fundamentals of entrepreneurship. Okay, so I'm also holding a post here in PPIB. I'm a Deputy Deans of Postgraduate and International Relations. All right, okay, so this is all from me. Okay, so any questions so far from you? Do you have any questions about me? No, right? Okay, now your turn. All right, so your turn here. I would like, because before we start our session, I have to know a little bit about your background, so that when I talk about this research design, I can relate a little bit to your research as well. Okay, when I'm ready, the slides, I do know your research background. So what is your topic, what you are going to do? So I just put very general statements in my slides. So if possible, I would like you to give me a little bit about you, so I can have some idea. All right, so any one of you want to start first? So you can tell me what have you done until now, okay? what are your research interests? So I know some of you already done, this is your second year or third year. Some of you only the first year or the first semester. Okay, so but it's okay. Just self-introduction, a little bit about your name, of course. Then after that, tell me what you are doing now, what you have done. So what is your research interest? Is that okay? So you can open your what is that? Your camera, or you don't want to open your camera, it's fine. Okay, it's okay. It's up to you. But you have to voice out. All right, open your mic, please. Any one of you, you may start. Any one of you. You want me to choose for you? Let me see. Anyone? Nobody? Okay. Well, if nobody wants to share their interest or what you have done until now, my talk will very basic, very surface. Is that okay? Nobody? Are you shy? Are you shy to talk? Can I choose one? At least one. Kelvin Yong.
Yeah, doctor.
You want to share? But you already graduated, Kelvin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kelvin, you want to share a little bit about your experience so that you can, sharing your experience with your junior.
Junior.
Yeah.
Oh, malu dokter.
You don't need to
Very
open
shy.
the camera, but you just open your mic. It's fine. Nobody know you.
Huh? Oh.
Nobody can recognize you.
Oh,
If
okay.
you don't open your mic, your camera, it's fine.
Yeah. Oh,
I
because
also don't open my, you see, I switch off the light, see?
Oh. So my experience is my research is about entrepreneurship lah, because most
Okay.
of entrepreneurship. So very shy lah, mau share, doctor.
It's okay. Give us 5 minutes. Your juniors want to listen. Just very, very brief one, very simple. You don't need to give very detailed. If some of your juniors, maybe they are interested, maybe they can text you and ask your opinion. But now, no. Okay, so you just give us very, very simple, very, especially in terms of research design, this part.
Research design.
Just this part.
Okay. So for the research design, it depend on your study lah, the nature of your study. Either you doing entrepreneurship kah, marketing kah, or finance. Because I don't know what kind of scope of the study of you doing. Because if you focus on entrepreneurship, you need to find a student that are on that area, so you can learn from them. Okay, because you cannot do it alone. Reading books about research design, you cannot focus on that. You need to find a person that can help you. For example, your research design. Okay, first you need to know how to do that based on your scope of your study lah. Okay, because finance they have their own research design. For entrepreneurship they have their own design. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So because and then the theory also, because the theory also you need to learn from the marketing people. Okay, because some of their study, I don't know, because when you want to do the research design, you need to know the theory first. Okay, the theory.
Yes.
Okay, how to do your, because without the theory, your research design is not not balanced lah. Okay, it must be tally lah. Okay, that's why. So based on my experience, because for your information, it's take me 7 years to complete my PhD. So,
Fine.
uh, so during that time, I was alone because I don't know how to do the research design. You read
Yeah.
this book, you also don't know what they are saying. So that's why you need to have a friend that is similar background with you, like entrepreneurship. So far, you meet. I mean, you can sharing your what I mean is your knowledge. You cannot what I mean is you cannot keep for yourself. You're afraid that your friend will take your idea. So you need to share your knowledge with your friend. That's how we can finish our journey lah, PhD lah. Because during that time, I'm 3 years, I'm lost. I'm one one man show. I'm
Yeah.
doing it alone. Now I don't know. You can look for your friend. Look for your friend based on your research study. Okay, that's how you can know better for your research design. Sometimes you says, "Oh, I think it is good," and then but the other friend they say, "I better you put this variable or other design that can help you to improve your thesis." So far, you cannot go alone. Don't go alone during this journey. And that is my experience lah.
Okay, good, good. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Kelvin. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your sharing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm totally agree with Dr. Kelvin. You know why? Um, but actually I consider I'm so lucky, okay, compared to Dr. Kelvin. Maybe Dr. Kelvin, he couldn't find a group of people who are doing the same research with him. All right. So but I'm so lucky because I'm in a good environment during that time, because my friends, all my PhD friends, we work together. We do a lot of sharing, you know. And of course, when I'm studying my PhD, the most important part is the first year and the second year, we have to attend a lot of workshop, not workshop, that is a course, means a lot of courses like you. Now you only have one courses, that is methodology course. But we have to complete 6 courses, okay, in my uni. And then, but this, even though it's very tiring and a lot of stress, because we have to achieve minimum 75% for each courses so that we can proceed to the next step. So means that not only the research gives us a lot of pressure, but also we have to complete our courses in very distinctions marks, okay? So that is very stressed, but actually we learn a lot. So my friends, my PhD friends, we are sharing. So we will talk about this topic and that topic. So we are sharing. That is really, really important. So this is out of the topic for today, but it's okay. My first advice is you have to work together with your PhD friends. Okay, so you are not work alone actually. Of course, your own topic, you are going to do it by yourself, but other than that, you can share with your friends here. Okay, so a lot of friends here, everyone is doing the same thing. So you can talk a little bit, and you can ask their opinions. And when you want to do your presentation, you can present in front of them first, so that you can get some first-hand, you know, uh, uh, comments from them before you proceed to the next step. All right, so this is my advice. I think this is good, so that you can on track. Your PhD study will go on track. If you're not doing this, then you cannot make it because you do it alone. So if you work together with your friends, you ask their opinion, all these kind of things, you ask their comments, you're sharing with them your research, or you present in front of them. So when they give you some comments, because they look at your research from a different angle, so they can see the problems. When they see the problems, when they tell you, then you can fix it very easily, right? So this is now we invite another person, Timmy because I saw you open the mic. You are going to share with us?
No, sorry. Actually, I'm just joined. Just accidentally pressed. It's okay, right? Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
All
Okay.
right. Okay, if nobody wants to say something, let's start our session for today, the sharing research design. All right. Okay. Let me go to the next slide. Okay. So learning outcome. I know you can read your research design through textbook. You can search from the internet, online. A lot of things you can read the research design, but it's okay. You read, but sometimes you still don't understand. Is it right? You read the textbook, but you still can't figure out what is the difference, right? You still confuse this one and this one, right? So, or even though you read from the internet, Google it, but you still confused. It's all right. So today, we are going to study the fundamentals of research design. So I have 3 learning outcome here. I would like you to take this learning outcome, 3 learning outcome for today. The first one is the basic, means that you can get all this kind of information from the textbook, from the Google. It's fine, you can get it, but maybe some of you still confused. It's fine. Today we are going to sit down and look at this one by one and see whether after my talk you can understand it or not. All right. And the second thing as well, you can get it from the textbook or from the internet. So this is like how you identify the types of research design, which one is more suitable to your research. All right, okay. Now, the third learning outcomes is my sharing, okay? Because when I write the papers, okay, because I told you before, right, I have published a few papers, right? So I would like to share with you the main problems when we are writing the papers. Main problems actually come from research design. Okay, so this I would like to share with you. Okay, so even though my experience in terms of writing an articles or journals, but this one actually also apply in your thesis. Okay, so hopefully everybody can get these 3 learning outcome. Very short, short slides. I only have 21. I think 21 slides. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so I think I just repeat what people saying. Okay, so what is research design? So what is research design? Research design. What is research design? Research design is a framework or a plan. Okay, in your mind here, you put in your mind, say that research design is a framework or a plan. It's a planning for conducting a research project. All right. So it's a framework or a plan for conducting a research project. Okay. Before we continue, because everybody will feel like, why you speak so slow? Okay, because why? We got a lot of friends from because some of you maybe sometimes when this is not familiar with me, the topic is not familiar with me. If people will talk too fast, I couldn't get it. This is me. That's why I would like to apply this to you all as well. I assume that everyone same as me. Okay, so I would like to talk slowly so that you can, think of it and then understand it. Okay, and then okay, a little bit slow. I know, I understand. All right, no problems. Okay, so what I say, research design is a framework or a plan for conducting a research project, right? Everyone here is a research project. So you have to use a research design to help you. So what is research design? Research design is a framework or a plan. So basically, this is a plan of how you will answer your research questions. The key here. research design is used to help you to answer your research questions. Okay, understand? So before you start the next step, now you have to have your research questions. Problems, of course, problem first. What is the research problems? After the problems, then you have to outline the research questions, right? Then after you have the research questions, now you need a plan to help you to answer these questions, right? So this plan, we call it research design. Okay? Hope you get it, right? In the plan, you develop a set of methods and procedures. Okay, in the plan, you develop. So it means that you plan what is the methods, what is the procedures, okay? That leads you to answer your research questions. All right, and after that, help you to test your research hypothesis with a high degree of confidence. Yeah, because you already have all these, step-by-step guidelines, everything. Of course, when you do your research, you have a high degree of confidence, right? Is it correct? All right, so this is the basic definition. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this is my research design. Okay, and the next one will be this one. Okay. So before we go to this one, the purpose, all right, you have to be clear that when you start designing your research, okay, before you start designing your research, you should have a clear picture of all idea of your research question you want to investigate or what you want to achieve. Get it? Understand? So I keep talking about research questions here. So it's very, 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 very important. It means that research questions is really important to guide you to run your research. Okay, before you start, you have to have, before you start to design, for example, before now, research design today, you already have your research question in your mind. Okay, got it? Okay, not only you guide with your research question, but you also need to think practically. Okay, means practically. Okay, when you design your research questions, not research question. When you want to start to design your research, yeah, you also need to think practically. Okay, so what is practically? You understand, right? What is practically? So means that it makes sense. All right. So the first one, you must understand how much time do you have to collect data and write up the research. How much time do you have to collect data? Now you are the first year. Oh, I got 1 year to collect data and write up the research. I got another year for write up research. Is that true? You have to count it. You have to do calculation. Okay, how much time do you have for data collection and write up your research? Okay, first thing. And the second one is, will you be able to gain access to the data you want? All right, so after you have your problems, your research questions, now you know, can I get this data I want? Am I able to do it? Okay, what kind of data so difficult to get it? For example, the data, you get it from the company. Okay, maybe not easy, you get it from the company. Or whether it's quite difficult for you to contact a specific person, right? So you have to think about it. And then you will design your research design, your research design. Okay, so the next one, you have to ask yourself, do you have the necessary research skill? Research skills is really important. Research skill. What research skill? For example, if you are not a quantitative person, you cannot do quantitative. If you are not qualitative person, you cannot do qualitative unless you have come to a certain training. For example, luckily now you have the workshop, a lot of workshop, not only for today, but a series of workshop. So you have to attend. If you know you are going to do quantitative analysis, then you have to attend a lot of quantitative workshop. All right. So do you have statistical analysis skills? For example, do you have SPSS skills? Do you have PLS skills? Or do you have MOS skill? All right. So all these kind of questions you have to ask first. If you don't have, never mind. You have to attend a lot of workshop or training. Okay. So the last one, the questions. This is also very obvious. You have to think practically. Any cost involved? Are you affordable to collect this kind of data, which maybe incur a lot of cost? Like when you do the data collection, maybe you need to spend a lot of money. Or when you do the experiment, do you need some money to run it? Or what? Or do you need money to go to other state or other places to collect the data? Do you have such money? All right. So a lot of questions you need to think about it. All right. So this is the basic things you need to think carefully. All right. Sorry. Okay. Now the time you have to look at your research. What is the purpose? Now you want to, of course, you already understand, right? The purpose of research design, because you want to guide you, right? Guide you to answer the research question, right? This is the definition of research design, or guide you to answer your research questions. But what is the main things of purpose of research design here? Okay, so a very obvious, since I give you a lot of not only definition, but also a lot of talking about think practically. Remember, the think practically. So means that when you do the research design, you are going to ensure that your research project is conducted effectively and efficiently. Okay, effectively and efficiently. You have like a planning. This planning will make sure your project is conducted effectively and efficiently. All right. So why I'm saying that? Because when you have this research design, this research design can provide a blueprint for your project plans, right? Then can provide you a direction, go to the right or go to the left, right? And can minimize the expenditure. Just now I say the costing, right? To collect the relevant data. Okay, not simply collect the data, but you collect the relevant, means related data that match the kinds of analysis you want to do. If you want to do SPSS or quantitative, you need to collect the data related to this analysis, okay? And also to provide credible answers to your research questions. Okay, so this is purpose of research design. Any questions so far? All right. So, so I have told you before that before you're designing your research, right? You need to have a very clear picture of your research question, right? Remember, right? So you have your clear research questions and your research problem. Right, now you have to think and decide which approaches you are going to use. Quantitative or qualitative? Which one? Okay, everybody have to put in your mind. Okay, for those who just starting your research, yeah. First thing you need to know research problem, right? And you need to have your clear research questions, right? Then after that, you have to think about what is the approaches that I'm going to use. Am I going to use quantitative? Am I going to use qualitative? What is the difference between these two? All right, I give you very simple differences here. Okay, very simple differences. The first one will be just a very simple one. Okay, the first one will be the research design. What is research design? I keep talking about it. This is right. This is a plan. Huh? I tell you already. This is a plan to answer your research questions. Right. What is research methods? Okay, what is the difference these two, right? So the research method is a strategy. Okay, it's a strategy to it's a strategy. You have, for example, survey, secondary data analysis, experiment, or interview, which you use to implement that plan. So means that research method is a strategy help you to implement your research design plan. Is that okay? Understand? Right? So both are different, but closely related. Okay, but closely related. So good research design will ensure that your data you collected from will answer your research questions more effectively. Is that okay? Just now I say research methods here, we have a lot of method, survey, secondary data analysis, experiment, interview, and used to implement the plan. So far, am I confused you? You have questions to ask about this?
So far, nah, doctor.
No, okay. All right. So you understand the differences. It's very important. Don't confuse between these two, research design and research methods. Okay. Hope you can differentiate these two, even though these two is different, but is related. Okay. It's closely related. All right. So hope you understand. Okay. I'm now on further. I go to the next one. That is what I'm told you about the quantitative and qualitative, right? So now you already understand the research design and research methods. Now you are going to understand what is the differences between quantitative and qualitative, because these two you have to very clear as well, right? Give you the next slides. Okay, so this is what I'm saying just now. Okay. So differences between quantitative and qualitative approaches. So this is actually, you can get it from the textbook, all right? So the textbook I'm using, actually, a lot of textbook here. Okay, I also refer to another few textbook, but well, I'm not bringing back because now we are work from home, right? So all the books in my office, only one I bring back. And then we have a lot of information from the what is that? You can find it from the Googles, all that, right? Okay. Well, let's start with one by one because I think this is really important. Before you can design your research design, you have to have a very clear picture between these two, quantitative and qualitative. Okay, let's look at the differences between quantitative and qualitative approaches. So the discussion here will start from the research approach. The first one, research approach. I hope you understand between what is deductive versus inductive. All right, the terms here using deductive and inductive, right? Okay, research approach of quantitative is deductive and qualitative is inductive. All right, okay. So you just look at the tables. The research approach of quantitative is deductive and qualitative is inductive. Let me explain it. All right. I know you can't get it. What is deductive? What is inductive? Is fine. All right. Okay, we are sharing. Yeah. Basically, deductive reasoning aims at testing at an assisting theory. So means that deductive here actually aims to test an assisting theory. So the theory already exists. Now you are going to test it. Okay, so this is deductive. All right. So inductive reasoning aims at developing a theory. So means that inductive here, the plan here, not plan, aims to come up with a theory. Okay, so this is a basic one. Okay, now we go more details. So when you go to the quantitative, you have existing theory to test and verify of, right? Okay, so when you go to the quantitative, you already have existing theory you want to test or you want to verify. Okay, so researcher will test hypotheses or research questions from the theory. So means the researcher now, when I study for this quantitative, I know have an existing theory. Now I'm using a lot of types of methods to test this existing theory. First, maybe I'm going to test the hypothesis. I'm going to test the research questions. Of course, the hypothesis come up from the research questions, right? And I would like to define and operationalize the variables derived from the theory. So of course, this theory, before that, they already have a lot of variables, right? How they're going to operationalize the variables. Now I would like to test it again, right? And I'm going to measure or observe variables using an instrument to obtain scores. So means that the conclusion here is deductive is testing existing theory. It's a quantitative. It's a quantitative. All right. So I'm using a lot of data. I'm collecting the data. I have my hypothesis, and then I'm going to collect my data. Now I would like to test the existing theory. Is it correct or not? Yes, this existing theory can support my problems or not. Or this existing theory is not useless or what? Okay, so this is deductive. All right. So how about the what is that? The inductive. The inductive, yes, I will tell you. They is like you develop, you study a lot of things without any theory. No theory to support you. No theory first. Okay, you have a very broad ideas, broad knowledge, a lot of things in your mind. So you don't have one thing to guide you. So this is inductive. All right, okay. Let's see, we continue. The next one is research purpose. Okay, so the research purpose here for the quantitative, you want to establish the relationship between measure variables. What is measure variables here? So measure variables here means the independent variables and dependent variables. These two things you want to establish the relationship. For example, the promotions with the sales. Promotions and sales. This is two variables. Promotions and sales. You want to connect these two together and think about the relationship. Okay, so this is, you want to establish the relationship between these two measure variables. Okay, so this is quantitative. For the qualitative here, the research purpose is to understand a social situations from participants' perspective. Yeah, a lot of social situation nowadays, like what is going on, what's happened. Then you interview, maybe you want to know the participants, okay? The participants' view, the participants' perspective about that social problems or what. So if you want to know their perspective here, okay, then maybe you have to use a lot of, the interview questions, or you want to use the observation. You go and observe them, what they are doing, or you go to interview them, okay, what is their opinion, something like that. So you want to understand the situations from other people's perspective. So you don't have something, it is very flexible. So we say in the characteristics, qualitative here, the characteristics in qualitative is not flexible. When you do the data collection, this is very flexible and not standardized. Okay, it's flexible and not standardized. And when you come up with your design, actually these designs means that you have your framework after you have collected the data. Okay, so it means that you have the design or framework that's already come up from your data you have collected. After you interview all these kind of things and then you analyze, and you come up this framework. Okay, so this is qualitative. And a hypothesis is not needed to begin a research. You don't need to. Okay, for the characteristic, for the quantitative, another one, quantitative, the characteristic is the procedures are established and hypotheses are formulated before you can start your research. So means you have to start everything first before you go to the field to collect the data. So you must have what kind of things in hand. We have your research problem, research questions, you have your literature review, you have your hypothesis, you know, and then you have a lot of procedures, how you're going to do it. You have the questionnaire, all right? You have a lot of things in hand, then you can go. Okay, so when you want to do the analysis, you are going to use a statistical technique to do it. Okay, you use statistical technique to use it. All right, so can I stop for a while? Can I stop for a while? I pause for a while. Okay, let's continue. Sorry, because the phone is keep ringing, ringing, so it's very annoying. So I'm going to, you know, pick up the phone for a while. All right, okay. So now we continue. Let's look at the researcher's role in quantitative and qualitative. All right, for quantitative, a research role here, just like observer. Okay, just like observer. Who they didn't participate or influence what is being studied. So I'm just like outsider. I'm not going and be a participant and then or I'm going to influence the study. All right. Okay. So because I just go and collect the data, I distribute the data, the questionnaire to the people, and then I'm not influence them. So they are going to fill up the form. That's it, right? But the qualitative a bit different. All right. So what the researcher do here, the researcher will participate and become immersed in the research or social setting. So means that these researchers are going to participate in the research, means that they will ask questions, they have to, you know, they have to share the same emotions or something like that with the participants. All right, so this immerse means that they become one of them. Okay, so enjoyed it, also emotionally, you know, influenced by the participants. Okay, so this is the differences between these two. So as a conclusion, I want to tell you, okay, I'm not sure how many of you going to quantitative and how many of you going to qualitative? All right. So I would like to say as a conclusion, my study mostly go to the quantitative. I'm a quantitative person. However, when I'm doing my PhD, I also do qualitative. But my qualitative is not the main one because my qualitative is just like testing, just like confirmations, just helping, backup only. Okay, so mostly I focus on quantitative. All right. So what is the difference here between quantitative and qualitative? Okay, the big differences here I want to say is quantitative, you are going to suffer in the first place. Your first place you are going to suffer means you have to spend a lot of time, spend a lot of things because you want to make sure your research questions is correct, your hypothesis is correct. All this you have a lot of theory is supporting your framework. Oh, you have to make sure everything. Then after that, you can come up with your research questions and going to collect the data. And then after that, you're going to analyze it. Then you are going to be easy at the back, at the end. So first, you're going to suffer. First thing, suffer, then easy. Not easy means that better. Okay? But for qualitative, first you are enjoy. Okay? Because you don't have to study a lot of things. A lot of you have to make sure a lot of things, you have to this and that. No, you just have your research problems, your research questions, then you go to the field and do your qualitative. Okay, then after that, your suffer will be the back. The next phase means the second phase, because why? You have to come up with your, after you got the data, you come up with your data, right? You analyze it, okay, using a transcribe, and then you have to, a lot of things to do. Then you can come up with your framework, okay? So that is qualitative. So these two is a bit different, all right? I hope you can get it. Well, no questions, right? Any questions? Okay. Right. Okay. Let's look at this. Okay. This is what I show you the books here, right? Okay. I got it from this book. All right. Let's see. Oh, well, you already understand the differences between quantitative and qualitative. Now, you have to understand what types of research design. Okay, so many research designs, so a bit complicated. Now I can give you a very simple information when you look at this framework. Okay, you look at this map here. According to this textbook here, we differentiate the research design into exploratory and conclusive, right? Exploratory and conclusive. Of course, when I understand it, exploratory is like qualitative lah, kan? Conclusive is like a quantitative. Okay, so the objective of exploratory research is to explore or you search through a problem or situation to provide insights and understanding. So I will go to the next one. I have the table for you. This is the one, okay? So here, you look at this, okay? The objective of exploratory research is to explore or search through a problem or situation to provide insights and understanding, right? Just now I already mentioned the qualitative. It's like you just want to provide insights and understanding. Means insight means very in-depth information. All right? The objective of conclusive research is to test specific hypotheses and to examine specific relationships. All right, so this is the objective of conclusive research. This requires the researcher clearly specify the information needed. Just now I already told you, this requires the researcher clearly specify the information needed. So for this, you need to have a lot of information to support you. Okay, you need a lot of information to support you, such as a lot of literature review, a lot of theory, a lot of concept, a lot of, to support you before you can come up with the next one. You can go to the next step. Okay. What is information needed here? Just I told you just now, is existing theory or existing literature. Okay. So the next one, conclusive research here, design here may be either, okay, I go back to the pictures here. Okay. Conclusive research designs may be either descriptive or causal. And descriptive research designs may be either cross-sectional or longitudinal. All right, I will explain it. I will explain briefly for each design. Okay. Okay. So look at this. All right. I think you guys can look at this table. So you look at here. This is for exploratory. This is for descriptive, and this is for causal. Okay. All right. Now we go to one by one. Okay. Exploratory research is meaningful in any situation when not much is known about the situation or problem, when important variables may not be known. Get it what I mean? Exploratory research is like something like you don't have much information actually. Okay? Not much information, and I don't know what is the variables. But you just know something is going on, some problems, or you want to test it. Okay, you want to examine it. So this is exploratory research. Okay, this type of research is flexible and unstructured. I keep talking about this. Before that, I already told you in the qualitative, right? It's flexible and unstructured. So the methods used here is in-depth interview, usually, observation, maybe firm, photographs, case studies, or secondary data. Okay, for this secondary data here means you are analyze the document. You analyze the document, the wordings maybe, all right, the sentence maybe. Okay, so this is secondary data analysis, or you can do ethnography. Okay, so I'm not going to focus in this session, in this workshop. I'm not focused on exploratory research because it's too much to do. Okay, I don't think we are going to, I'm focused on the deductive research, means the one we have the causal research, and also we have the descriptive research. Yeah. Okay. So the next one, we go to the descriptive research. Okay. So descriptive research can give you a clear picture of characteristics of phenomenon, trends, and relationship. So understand, right? So I told you, we already study a lot of things, a lot of literature review, a lot of theory. Of course, this one can give you a clear picture of characteristic of phenomenon or trends and relationship, what have been done before, okay? Or are you going to do, okay, for this? This type of research used to test a specific hypothesis and to examine relationship. I keep talking about this, right? And prepare and structure design. What is prepare and structure design? Prepare here means you already planned before, okay? But however, of course, we got a negative side for this descriptive research. But descriptive research can't draw conclusion about cause and effect. Here I hope you can get it. You can't draw conclusion about cause and effects. What is cause and effects? I really do the relationship. A will have a relationship with B. Yes, I understand. A will have relationship with B. This is descriptive research. A got some relationship with B. Right, you are right. But not only A we've got relationship with B, maybe we got C, D, E, F, right? So not only A. So we can't draw a conclusion about cause and effect. So cause and effect here, what is mean by cause and effect means you can confirm that A caused this B. Okay, so this is the shortcome means the negative side of descriptive research. Okay, for example, I'll give you one example. If you want to test promotions, increase sales. I keep talking about this, right? Promotion, increase sales. This is a relationship. Promotion, increase sales. All right? Okay, promotion, increase sales. Obviously, promotion can increase sales, right? But any changes in sales could also have been influenced by other variables, many other variables, such as marketing personnel, for example, your employee marketing strategies, not only promotion, but also your employee marketing strategies, right? Or the technology, for example, your product technology, you are using a very updated technology. Okay, so maybe because of this, people are going to buy from you, okay? Or the product quality, for example, your product is very satisfied customer needs. So all these kind of variables, other variables might influence your sales. So not only promotions, when you give a conclusion that promotion increase sales, well, yes, promotion increase sales, but this is not the conclusion, a final conclusion. It's not a cause and effect. Because why? Because when we want to increase sales, we have other variables as well. Will influence the sales, not only promotions, right? Okay, so all these variables may increase sales. Therefore, descriptive research can't provide a strong conclusion about cause and effect. All right, of course, we have negative side, right? So what kind of methods we are using here for this descriptive research? We are using secondary data analysis, for example, same as the exploratory, but here a bit different. The secondary data analysis here, we are using quantitative analysis. Means we use secondary data, but we are going to study the figures. Okay, so this is different from exploratory. Exploratory is study the documents, wordings. But for this secondary data analysis here, we are using figures, number. Okay, and the next methods for this descriptive research is survey, or we can use longitudinal, or other terms we call it as panels. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, right, if no questions, I go to the next one is for causal research. Okay, for causal research, all right. This is experiment, right? Okay, for causal research here, you could test cause and effect relationship without the risk of other variable influencing the results. Got it? So causal research here means you can know what caused it, what is the effect, okay, without the risk of other variables that influence the result. Only these two, okay, no other things will influence them. For example, give you another example here, okay, give you another example. For example, you randomly assign half of the students to be taught online. So you have 100 students, for example. You have 100 students here as your participants. You randomly assign half of the students, 50-50. So, but you are not going to choose A, B, C, D, E, you are go to the 50. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, you go to another 50. Not like that. You randomly assign. So means this 100 in the you are going to cut it half. Who is going to the A, who is going to the B, we don't know. All right. So for example, you randomly assign half of the student to be taught online. One is go to the taught online. One another half to be taught in person, means face to face. One is using online. And you are controlling all other relevant variables. You are not look at other, you control them. You control all other relevant variables. Okay. So now you are going to test these two only. So after that, you are compare the outcomes in test scores. They have the exam, right? So you're going to compare the outcomes in test score. You can be more confident that it was the methods of teaching and no other variables that cause any changes in score. So means that you compare these two, of course, these two got influence, but which one is higher, which one is lower. So now you're very confirmed to tell people that no other variables. I'm just looking at the methods of teaching. One is using internet, one is using in person, face to face. So which one can come up with a different test scores? Whether the online much better than the face to face, or face to face test score is much better than online. So this is the one only. Okay. So in the causal research, you will manipulate one or more independent variables. Okay, so you will manipulate one or more independent variables. So this is the method you are going to use is experiment. All right, okay. I think we have to stop for a while to take a break because I think too much talking and then you are going to sleep, right? Okay, because no questions, we take a break for 5 minutes, then we continue, okay? If you have question, you can ready your question and ask me later, all right? Okay, see you later. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Before continue, do you have any questions?
Doctor,
Yes.
in the chat box, there is
Yeah.
a question in, yeah,
The chat
yeah,
box. Okay, I didn't.
yeah. It's okay. Just continue, then you can answer the question in the chat box lah after this. Just
Okay,
give,
okay, okay. Oh,
uh,
yeah, the chat box. Okay, okay, okay.
okay.
All right.
Just continue with the talk, then we can
Ah,
answer the question there.
yeah. Okay, I opened the
Yeah.
chat box already. Sorry because I'm not open it just now. Okay, later I will continue. I will answer your questions later, okay? Sure, thanks. Okay, now we continue, yeah? Okay, let's go to see the continue our frame. The table here, the figure here, look at this. Okay, we have to go back first. This one, all right. Okay, you look at this, we are not finished yet. We are not finished. Now we are going to this part. I'm going to this part, yeah? Okay. All right. So look at this. We have, for the descriptive research, right, design, we also separate it, right? Separate either cross-sectionals or longitudinal, right? So the cross-sectional design involves the data collection at a particular time or only once, okay? So there may be either single cross-sectionals or multiple cross-sectional. So when we say we are going to collect data using cross-sectional design, when you say cross-sectional design, it means you are going to collect the data in a particular time or only once. But anyway, for this cross-sectional design, we can separate into single or multiple. Okay, what is the difference here? A single cross-sectional designs only one samples of respondent is drawn from the target population. Okay, only one sample of respondents. And information is collected only once. Understand? You got it? Okay. So one sample of respondent, one sample of respondent is drawn from the targeted population. For multiple cross-sectional design is two or more samples of respondents, and then informations are from each sample is collected only once. But of course, they have multiple, maybe time is different, or like today I'm collect from these samples. For example, this month I'm collect from these samples. Next month I collect from other samples. Something like that. Okay, we have two or more samples of respondent. Okay, but single is like you just collect once only. Okay, that's it, finish. Okay, so this is differences between cross-sectional design. And for the, when you look at the longitudinal designs, this involves the data collection at several points of time. Okay, so the sample remain the same over time. The sample or samples remain the same over time, means that the people are the same. When you collect the data for this longitudinal, you have to make sure you have already identified who are going to follow your research, who is the participants, all right? Then for example, you have these people, and the next time you also will going to have the same people. This is longitudinal, okay? For example, you're going to study this company employees performance. Okay, this big company performance, that is 200, they have 200 employees, but you just focus on 100 employees, for example. Then after that, in the future, after 6 months, then you're going to study again this 100 employees. Okay, so you want to see the changes. Why you want to see the changes is up to your research questions or your research problem. If you want to study the performance of the employees after within the 6 months, for example, they have, for example, the students, the employees, the company may be up apply certain, certain policy. Okay, the certain policy might influence the employee's performance. So you want to test it. Okay, you want to test it. So that is longitudinal design. Okay, so and then this kind of longitudinal design might provide a series of pictures that given an in-depth view. In-depth, so means that very in-depth, means a lot of informations of the situations and what is the changes here over the time. So now and also after 6 months or after 1 year, what is the changes? Okay. Now, okay, we already finished the framework of it. Now we go to each research method in detail. Okay, I will explain. I have to mention here, I just focus on quantitative. I will explain in detail for each of the research methods here. Okay. Okay, let's go to the first one is survey. Okay, survey. All right. So what is survey here? What is survey? I think most of you understand what is survey. Is it right? Okay, so I think most of the FPEP students are going to do this. Maybe, I'm not sure. Most of you might go to survey. Okay. Anyway, I will explain one by one. Okay, for this research method, usually are conducted in exploratory or descriptive research. You might confuse why in exploratory, not only focus on descriptive research, why in exploratory? For you, exploratory is a qualitative, is it right? Why we got the survey in exploratory? Okay, so of course we have exploratory, okay, using survey, but that is different. The survey in terms of what? In terms of like interview questions, interview survey. You have questions in the survey, you ask, you interview them. Like you are going to ask the experts, all right? The experts, you do the survey with the experts. So this is a qualitative. You are going to ask because the expert, you cannot just give them, fill up the form, something like that. But of course, when you do the survey, at the same time, you have other questions to ask. So this is different. So we are not focused in this exploratory, okay, side, but we are going to look at the survey in descriptive research. Okay, you have to differentiate it. So the survey method is a structured questionnaire given to a sample of population and designed to elicit specific information from respondents. So this survey method is a structured questionnaire. I think all of you have this kind of experience. You receive research questions, a questionnaire, right? And so this is a survey. One of the survey. What kind of survey? So this survey, this questionnaire, you give to a sample of a population, and you're going to design to elicit specific information. So means that you're going to you aim to get some specific information from respondent, right? So typically the questioning is structured. So the structure, or what means structure here means the questions are asked in a pre-arranged orders. I have already arranged it. So what kind of question I have to ask first? What is the next one? What is the following one? So this is already pre-arranged order. This is normally we do lah. Okay, this is normally we do. All right, so normally the questions being asked is to answer what, who, where, how much relationship, how many, all these kind of questions. Okay, so and then the techniques of this research method is questionnaire, of course, and interview. All right, so when you interview, of course, you are using survey. Okay, you have the question survey. You also can use it as an interview, especially for critical incidents analysis. What is critical incidents? Critical incidents interview here. We are saying you have a set of questions. Now you interview the people and answer the questions. Okay, maybe that is you have to write down. That is a question, then you have to write down. Or you ask them to write it for you. Something like not ABCD questions you ask them to choose, but of course, questions you ask them to write down their comments or their opinions in the questionnaire. All right. So the survey involves sampling procedures. Of course, we have sampling procedures, you know, right? From some sampling procedures is how I'm going to select the samples who are there, okay, what is the locations, how many of them, you know, what is the procedures you are going to run it, okay, so all these kind of things. This is the first research method, survey. All right. Now we go to the next one. The next one is the secondary data analysis, or we call it archive study. So this is a study, we say this kind of study a little bit, what do you call it? Sometimes we cannot use this data as the main, no, maybe only a part of it, then you can use this data. Most of the time we cannot 100% means that rely on this secondary data. Sometimes, most of the time we cannot, because why? Later I will tell you what is the negative side of this kind of data. All right, okay. So secondary data. Well, before I proceed, I quite worry about it. Why you don't have question? Maybe you don't understand what I'm talking about. Is it right? Okay, let me ask you. Do you understand what is the difference between primary data and secondary data? Primary data is you are going to collect it. The data is no existing data now, right? We don't have this kind of data now. Okay, so the primary data means you are going to collect it. First-hand data, we call it that. The secondary data means the data already exists in the market, or in the report, in the paper, or in the books. So this is secondary data. All right, okay. So we say secondary data analysis. Why we use this kind of data? Because it's easily accessible, relatively inexpensive. Because when we go out to collect the data, maybe it's incur a lot of cost, like the costing a bit expensive. So, but for this second data, maybe you just can download, you know, free. Okay, so that is inexpensive, and you can quickly obtain it. Okay, or you can get it from the company if they are willing to give it to you, the data. Some of the company, they have a big data, right? They collect the data, they use the system to study use the system to record the customers' data, right? So if you are good, or you have some cooperation with that company, maybe this company can give you this kind of data. Then we call this data is secondary data. Okay, so you can get it from them, all right? You can get some data also from the magazine, a statistic, report, or website. Some are free, some may be a bit difficult, but it's fine. Still easy to get it. Okay, that is secondary data, all right? Although the secondary data might not be able to provide all answer to your research problems, but that data also useful in a variety of ways. Okay, I told you just now, its negative side is this data cannot provide all answer to your research questions. Cannot. Most of the time cannot. But they still helpful. They are still useful to a certain parts of it. For example, they can help you to identify the problems, all right? Maybe can help you to better define the problem. Maybe can help you to develop an approach to the problem, or maybe can help you to identify the key variables, and maybe can help you to answer a certain research questions, maybe not all research questions, but maybe only one research question is good enough, or two research questions, okay? And maybe can help you to test some of the hypotheses. So this is secondary data. All right, this research method is suitable usually for research related to past event. For example, what is the trend Okay, what is the trend now? What is a previous trend or something like that? The patterns of spending, okay? All this kind of research. Okay, any questions so far? Now we go to the very difficult part. Next one. Okay, I think FPEP students, some of you might do this part experiment, right? Most of my research, at this moment, I have surveyed, I told you I have come out with a few papers, right? I already published a few papers. I can say 70% is come from experiment, okay? So when you want to publish in a Q1 papers, you want to publish in a Q1 papers, survey data is not good enough unless you have very good theory, very good concept, very good framework, very good hypothesis. Okay, so then you can publish it using the survey data. But if you don't have this, then you can use experiments because the data is more, most of the journals, they accept experiment because they think that experiment is more like reliable, okay, for them. So if you want to publish a good journals, then you use experiments. Why I'm saying that? Because experiment is not only one study, but in one paper you can more than 2-3 studies. Not only one study. So in experiment papers, okay, if you want to publish the journals, okay, you gonna collect a lot of studies for this experiment. So we will separate the papers into a few parts. Okay, so maybe study 1, study 2, study 3, something like that. Okay, so normally this kind of paper are using experiments. Okay, of course we have other types of paper also, study 1, study 2, study 3, they combine. For example, study 1, they use qualitative study. Paper 2, they are going to collect the data using survey. Paper 3, they are using experiment to test it. So, but you have to keep in your mind that these 3 studies must go related each other, cannot independently different. So that is not make sense. So when you want to test a different types of methods, put a different types of method into one paper, make sure all different types of methods, they are going to complete one aim. Okay, right? Okay, so that is my my suggestions here. All right, now we look at this experiment in details. All right, so first, an experimental, I think this for experimental studies, these experimental methods, we can use one day or one another slot to talk about it, but never mind. We will talk the surface one, very basic one about this, all right? So this experimental design is a set of procedures specifying the test units and how these units are to be divided into homogeneous subsamples. I know you will be confused. All right, not one day you can understand this, okay? Because I also use a lot of time to understand this, all right? So this is my experience that I can figure it. I will try to make it simple. I will try to explain it again, all right? So maybe you confused with what is test units here, right? So in experiment, we use the term here, we use the terms as test units. What is test units here? The test units is individual or organizations who respond to the independent variables. Okay, if for example, I'm in the test units, I'm individual. Okay, I'm test units, I'm individual. I'm going to respond to the independent variables. Okay, I'm going to respond to the independent variables. Okay. All right, okay. So I'm the test unit. I'm the test unit. When people want to study one subject, or they are going to study one thing, and I'm one of them, one of the test units. Okay, I'm the one of the test units, right? So I'm going to do it. So this is test units. So in here, we'll specify the test units. And who is a test unit? Students, for example. Students year 1, students year 2, students year 3, for example. How these units are to be divided into homogeneous subsamples. So it means that when I collect the data here, I want to make divided into homogeneous subsamples. So this group of people are studying online. They are homogeneous subsamples. This group of people, I divided them, yeah? This group of people are going to study online. So this is homogeneous, same. Okay, this group of people, okay, they are going to study using face-to-face. So they are homogeneous, same. So this is, we call it two test unit, which we are going to divide them, all right? So the second one is you need to specify what independent variables are to be manipulated. So in this experiment, you need to manipulate the independent variables. Okay. Yes. Test unit same with respondents, yes. But when you come to the experiments, you are going to use test units. Okay, so maybe for the general, you can call it as respondent, but in detail, in very the terms here, you use test unit. Okay, so these one dependent variables are to be measured. Okay, what dependent variables are to be measured? So here you have to measure, you have to understand independent variables. Yeah, what kind of independence you are going to manipulate, what kind of dependent variables you are going to measure, okay, to be measured, right? Then you are going to control the extraneous variables. Okay, what is extraneous variable? Why you control these extraneous variables? Extraneous variables are all variables other than independent variables. So others annoying other inference variables, you are going to control them. So this we call it extraneous variables. They use a certain terms, yeah? Okay. Before I proceed, I think a lot of you may be a bit confused with what is independent variable, what is dependent variables. For those already study, for the second year student, maybe already you know the difference between independent and dependent. But for those who just starting their study, maybe you can't understand what is the difference between independent and dependent, right? Okay, so independent variable, we call it IV. In short term, we call it IV. Short name is IV, independent variable. This means variables that are manipulated and whose effects are measured and compared. So means that independent variable is the variable that I'm going to manipulate. If I'm the researcher, I'm going to manipulate the IV, and this IV are going to who are going to effects measure and compare. So means I want to compare this IV. Okay, is that okay? All right. So the DV here, the DV means a variables that measure the effect of the IV on the test units. So IV, remember I used the promotions and also the sales example. Okay, promotions increase sales, right? Promotions increase sales. Get it? Promotions increase sales. So this promotion is IV. Sales is DV. Promotion is independent variables, IV. Sales is dependent variable, is DV. Okay, got it? All right, simple, right? And what is extraneous variables? Extraneous variables is over here, IV side, but they are outside Okay, we make it them as outsiders. We want to control them. Don't kacau. So don't, sorry, I come up with a Malay words. Don't influence my IV. So this is you control the extraneous variables. Okay, so this is, we make it like this. Oh, this is experiment. Okay, the basic, what do you call it? Information about experiment. So this experiment design is used to answer what, how, why questions. And the design can be between, this is the parts here, maybe you are confused here. The design can be between subject designs or within subject design. Look at this. Design can be between A, between subject design. B, between subject design. Is it right? Look at here. Between subject design, within subject design. What is the difference? Okay. So between subject designs is divided into classical experiment or quasi experiment. Okay, within subject design is one only lah. Okay, only one. Okay, so classical experiment here, you select sample. Okay, you select sample, then you randomly assign to experimental group. Just now I'm using the example is using this. Okay, using this. I'm randomly assigned to students who study online, students who study face-to-face. Okay, so I randomly assign to experimental group and control group. Okay, so the group here, experimental group, we call it EG lah. Okay, so when you do the EG here, experimental group, you do the intervention and test. Intervention means you have multiplications. Okay, EG here means you have two groups. Not only two groups, you have three groups. Okay, between subject design. So you have experimental group who are study online, who are study face-to-face, and also a control group. Three, okay, a control group. So when you do the experimental group, you are going to do the intervention and test. What is intervention here means you are going to manipulate and do the test, right? But what is the control group is you don't have interventions. Then after that, you want to study the result. Any differences between these three? Okay. If no differences between these three means is failed. Your experiment is failed. Okay. If got differences, yes. All right. So now we go to the quasi experiment. What is the? Okay. 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 All right. Sunyi, you want to do something? Okay. Quasi-experiment. Okay. Quasi-experiment is between subject design. Okay. Quasi-experiment is between subject design. So here you select sample, but not randomly assigned to EG or CG. What is EG, CG? Experimental group or control group. Okay. So select sample, but not randomly assigned. So you already have that group. You already assign it. Okay. And do the match pair procedure to minimize the differences in participants' profile. Okay. I hope, well, we need more time to do this, but anyway, I still got a lot of slides to go for. How many more slides? Yeah, but it's okay. All right, so if you want further information about this experiment, you can text me or email me. I can explain further, yeah? So within subject design, all participants, one group are exposed to every treatment. Okay, so what is the differences? Let's go and have a look. Okay, look at this, yeah? What is the difference? Go to this. Well, cannot go to move one, next one. Okay, yeah. All right. So look at the next one. This is example of between subject designs. All right. So I already told you that this we are assigned randomly assign. We randomly assign the groups, right? Randomly assign group, okay? All right. So look at here, the experimental group, and this is a control group, and this is an experimentary group, and this is a control group. All right. So you are going to measure the DV. Okay, you're going to measure the DV. For example, the performance. Now I'm going to tell you the performance. Okay, the performance like students online study and also what? And also face-to-face, right? Online, face-to-face. Okay, so now look at here. And the other one is no control. Okay, no control means what happened to this? Okay, something wrong with my computer. Okay, now you see experimental group and control group, right? So now you are going to measure the DV. All right, first, that's why I told you in our experimental study, we have study 1, study 2, study 3, right? For the first study, we are measure the DV without intervention. You know what I mean? Without any intervention. Without any interventions. Again, I repeat again. Okay, when you study the experimental group, this is and also the control group, you assign them, you collect the data, you ask them to give you a bit feedback about the DV. Okay, so you're going to measure the DV. So this is the first study. After that, you do some intervention, means you do some manipulations. Then you study again. This is a study. The next study, you are going to measure the DV again and see what is the differences. Okay, so this is between subject designs. So this is example. Okay, this is example, like for example, the marks performance here. First, I say, okay, experiment, you have to using the experimental group and using the control group, right? So the marks will be 75 and 78, all right? So after that, you got some intervention. For example, you put the training, and then after that, the marks will going up to the 93 or 80 here. So this is the studies. All right. Of course, it's not so simple like this, but this is the basic. You have to understand. All right. Okay. Now we go to the next one. Is talk about reading subject. Oh, sorry. Okay, reading subject. So this reading subject design. Okay, this reading subject. So we don't have a randomly assigned group. All people are in one group. Okay, all students in one group. So we are going to have the first interventions. Then we are going to measure the DV. Then after that, we are going to have an intervention 2. And then we are going to measure the DV again and want to see the differences between the first intervention and the second intervention. The same people, the two, all of them doing the same thing. Not like the between subject, we divided into 2 groups, right? Okay. So, and for example, here, this is example, like first you are using teaching technique 1, okay, to study what is the outcome to the classroom behavior. And the second one, you are going to check the teaching technique number 2 and see what is the classroom outcome, the classroom behavior. So then you want to see the differences. So this is reading subject design, means the same people doing a different types of tests. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's go to the next one. I have to finish because I want to share the problems most of the people have, the problems when they are doing the research designs. All right. So the next one, we are going to the next one is the units of analysis. So this is also very important. What is the unit of analysis? Okay. So this is about research question. What means the unit of analysis? It is the what or who that is being studied. For example, who Okay, individuals. What? Something, or is it organizations? Okay, so in social science research, typical units of analysis include individuals, groups, and organizations. Okay, so first one, individual as a unit of analysis, diet as unit of analysis. Diet, what is diet? Diet, what is diet? Okay, later I will come back to this. Group as unit of analysis, a group of people. Organization as a unit of analysis, but most of the time we are going this unit, individual as unit of analysis. Sometimes some of the study you are going to the diet as units of analysis. Diet means you are going to study two, like individuals, you are going to have managers, okay, you are going to have a lot of people, okay, but this is diet means you are two ways, you are studying two ways, okay, you are studying two ways, that is called diet. All right, now I hope you are ready with this one, a very long one. Wait. Okay, I will make it short. Okay, I'm trying to make it short. So this is as like, look at this. Okay, the three broad research design problems. What is the broad research design problems? Let's look at the first one. When we look at the first one, this is a mismatch between research questions and design. Okay, this happened. The research design. Okay. The second one is about the measurement and operational issue. Okay, measurement and operational issue. The third one is about the appropriate or incomplete model specifications. This is a three broad research design problems. Okay, so I hope, of course, these slides we are going to share with you, right? So you can have a look, but I will explain one by one here. The first one, okay, is about the mismatch between research questions and design. Okay, you go to the first one, right? The mismatch between research questions and design. Of course, under this mismatch between research questions and design, we have separate it into two. One is cross-sectional data. See, what is the cross-sectional data problem? What is the cross-sectional data problem? The next one is inappropriate samples and procedures. Okay, so we look at the first one. So why some papers that use cross-sectional data is rejected when you submit your papers? Okay, or I don't talk about paper, about your thesis, same thing, yeah, same thing. Why some of the papers that use cross-sectional data is rejected? Why? This not happen because such data are flawed, or because the reviewer or editors don't like it or biased. No, not because of that. Not because your data is flawed or people don't like it. Not because of that. It's happened because many, or perhaps most research questions implicitly or explicitly address issues of change or causality. This related to your own problem, your research questions. Okay, sometimes when we come up with a research questions, your research question actually is related to change or causality. Yeah, your research question, when you write your research questions, is talk about change or talk about causality, right? But anyway, when you come to the methods here, you are using cross-sectional data. That is not matching. You know what I mean? Not matching. Your research question, in your research question, you talk about change or causality, but the method you want to test your research question is using cross-sectional data. That is not right. Okay, that is not right. That is totally not right. You got what I mean? Okay. All these research questions implicitly address causality and change. So cross-sectional data are a poor choice. You have to make sure your research questions, is it talking about change? Is it talking about causality? Then cross-sectional data is not a good choice for you. This is a wrong matching. Okay, if talk about change, which one you have to use? You are going to use longitudinal, or you're going to use panel, right? Data. Or if you are talking about causality, you are going to use experiment. Okay, so this is difference. Okay, so that's why we are saying longitudinal, panel, or experimental data are more suitable and are able to answer these research questions. All right, so because they can making inferences about change or establishing strong causal inference. Okay, Colette? Okay, can get it? All right. Therefore, researchers should ask themselves. So you are the researchers now. Okay, students or researchers should ask ourselves during the design stage. Okay, during the design, when we want to design it, you have to ask yourself whether my research questions is talk about change or talk about causality. Okay. Okay. So whether your underlying question can actually be answered with my research method or cannot, you have to ask yourself. All right. So this is the first problem of matching. Okay, now we go to the second problem of matching, is talk about inappropriate samples and procedures here. Inappropriate samples and procedures. Okay, so the second issues of mismatch here is whether the sample and procedures are appropriate for the research questions. So not only about the method, the research method, now we go to the samples and procedures. Is it appropriate for your research questions? For example, when you ask students to make executive selection decision, like a manager, your sample is students, but your research question is talk about executive selection decision. Is it matching? Not matching, right? Students cannot make such decisions. Even though you ask students to answer this question, then after that, this is not valid. Because why? Because students, they don't have this kind of experience as an executive. They're just students, right? They have limited work experience. They might not be able to answer it, even though they answer it, but the answer is not valid. Is it right? So you have to make sure your samples, who is your samples, must matching your research questions. Okay, another example of mismatch is about the procedures. All right, so for example, even though you know you are going to test the causality, for example, okay, you want to test the causality, so you are running an experiment, but now we have to look at the procedures here. A single 45 minutes laboratory research may not be an appropriate way to test a study involved an unfolding scenario where a subject makes a series of decisions over time. You know what I mean? So, for example, if your research questions is talk about change, so means that it's talk about your respondents are going to make a series of decisions over time. Means a series of decisions means from time to time they are going to make a decisions. For example, from time to time they do some study, right? Or they make some decision. You cannot give them or lock them in a room and ask them to answer a question within 45 minutes using the experiment. Oh, that is not right, right? Within 45 minutes, you go and ask a series of decisions over time that is not matched. Wrong. You know what I mean? So what is the best research method here? So if your research questions is talk about a series of decision making, then you cannot use this kind of procedures, lock them within 45 minutes. This is wrong. So it means that maybe you can lock them for 10 minutes for a certain decision, then in future, another 10 minutes for the next decision or something like that. Okay, so this is, you have to be careful for this mismatch. All right, okay, so this is the first mistake, the first broad mistake. You got it? Okay, so here my conclusion for this first mistake here is you should always ask yourself two questions. Are the samples and procedure match the research questions? Right? Why this sample or procedures are appropriate? To avoid, why you ask this kind of two questions? Because this can help you to avoid to making such problems. Okay, to avoid to make such mistake. So you can keep asking yourself, are the samples and procedures match the research questions? Or why these samples or procedures are appropriate? Why? When you answer this question, from there you can realize whether your samples or procedures is correct or not. Okay, hope it's help you. All right, now we go to the next problems here. The next problem, the second problem, is about measurement and operationalizations. Okay, well, what is measurement and what is operationalizations? I think you have to understand the keywords here first. I suppose everyone understand the measurement. You know what is measurement? Measurement is talk about the variables. Then the variables have a certain questions. Then we are call it measurements, right? And the operationalization means how you're going to operationalize this kind of questions or the variables. Okay, so for this mistake, it always happens inconsistency in a manuscript or your draft thesis. It's always happen inconsistency. For PhD or for the master, when you write your thesis, consistency is really important. This is my advice. Consistency is really important. Again, I have to mention again, consistency is really important. So, but anyway, a lot of people will make this kind of mistake. It's always happen inconsistency in their manuscript or draft thesis. Okay, for example, initially the paper are focused on organizational legitimacy. Okay, first I talk about organizational legitimacy. My concept is talk about organizational legitimacy. But later, I coach the discussion in terms of different but related construct. Okay, at the, in the middle or at the end, I talk about reputations or status. Related, but well, which one I have to focus to? Especially the examiners or leader, they will confuse. Actually, what you are talking about, are you going to study the organizational legitimacy or you are talk about reputations or status? Which one? So please avoid this kind of mistake. Okay, so very important. My advice is your definition is really important. You have to have your own definition. Of course, you have a lot of literature review definition. You can define them. And then after that, you can use that definition and apply in your study. But of course, you have a lot of definition, very clear definitions, which can apply into your studies. Okay, so that must make it clear to the leaders. All right, to avoid this inconsistency, my advice, okay, is you must have the clear define the course construct, your core construct. You have to clearly articulate the definitions and the boundaries of the new construct. What is the boundaries of the new construct as well? You have to tell. And you have to map it association with the existing construct. So you have to map it with your definition. must have some, as association means relationship with the existing constructs. Okay, and you have to avoid assumptions. This is really important. Don't use your own assumptions. I know some of you say, I'm studying today, and this is my assumptions. I put it in writing. That is my assumption. Wrong. When you do something, don't put your own assumption. When you put something, you have to have a very strong background, strong concept to back you up. Okay? Don't simply make your own assumptions. That is wrong. Okay? All right. Any questions so far? Okay, let's go to the first problems here. Okay, under the measurements and operationalizations. The first problem here is inappropriate adaptations of existing measures. Okay, inappropriate adaptations of existing measure. Usually when I want to collect data, I will use existing measures. Means the questions, right? The variables, and the variables have the questions, right? I will use the existing measure because it's like less time, maybe. You can use it. Everyone can use it. No problem. You use it. Just use it. But the problem here is maybe you inappropriate adapt it. What I mean by inappropriate adapt it? When you use existing measure, maybe you are going to adapt it. Maybe you are going to modify it a little bit to suit to your study, right? Okay, but somehow you make some mistake. Why it happened? Because a key challenge to collect field data is to get the organizations or manager to comply, right? When you want to ask your respondent to answer your questionnaire, maybe a bit difficult, especially it's related to the organizations or manager. They are so busy. So well, it's not easy to ask them to fill up your form, right? So now the survey length is frequently a point of concern. So means we cannot make the questionnaire too lengthy, cannot too much questions inside, right? So means that usually people will cut the items, right? So totally, I will cut the items to reduce the survey length. However, this method may create problem, all right? That's why I say inappropriate, you adapt the existing measure. Okay, however, this method may create problem. For example, when the researchers pick and choose items from the existing scale, because you want to eliminate some of the items, right? Then you are going to choose items from existing scales, right? So you say, okay, the scales before you have 7 items. For example, the existing measure have 7 items. Now you are going to choose it, pick it and choose it. So you choose 5 out of 7. And then you rewrite them, maybe. Okay, you rewrite this sentence to reflect your unique context, to reflect your own studies, all right? So they might not provide all these kind of things. You don't provide any validity evidence. You just simply do it. Cannot. You cannot simply do it. All right. So when you want to reduce the existing measures, all right, or you want to rewrite them to better suit to your unique context, you cannot simply do it. Okay, you cannot, because why? You have to provide some supporting validity evidence to say that you do this with validity. Okay, so what can support you to do this? Okay, you might have to ask expert to read your questionnaire. First things, the first step, you can ask your expert, any expert in this field, to read your questionnaire first. And then the second step, you can bring this questionnaire and ask the respondent to do it, maybe to do a pilot test or pre-test to your questionnaire. all right? And then you run the analysis and make sure the questions is suit to the context first things, and make sure the items is good enough, is okay with these 5 items. So this is support your validity evidence in your paper or your thesis. Okay, cannot simply choose and pick something like that. No such thing, yeah? All right, okay, the next one. All right, okay. I already told you that, right? Okay, now, sometimes in the papers or in your thesis, you can do that, what I suggested just now, but also you can include the original measurements, these measures, into your manuscript as appendix, or in your thesis as appendix. Okay, you can put all. This is your items. This is original items. You can put both in your appendix. Okay, so this allows the reviewer to examine the face validity of the new measures, to see whether it makes sense or not, to let them to have a look. All right, is that okay? Okay, so this is the first problem. Now we go to the second problem of this. Okay, the second problem is inappropriate applications of existing measures. Just now is adapt, right? You adapt the questionnaire, the existing questionnaire, and bring it to become your own questionnaire, right? But now the next problem is you apply this existing measure. What is the mistake here? For example, is usually people or your researcher or the students or authors, they will establish both the units of their new construct, right? I will establish the uniqueness of my new construct and relates to the existing construct and the validity of the operationalizations. Okay, I will relate all this. Okay, so but well, something's wrong here. Why I'm saying there's something wrong here? Because you might miss some steps here. Okay, so inappropriate application of existing measurements. Well, you might make some mistake to assess completely different construct. So means that you mistake using existing measure to assess completely different construct. This is very obvious. For example, you talk about A. Your concept is about A. Your variables is about A. Okay, it's about A. Totally is about A. But you borrow the existing measure is talking about B. Then you take this B to test your A. Wrong. You know what I mean? Okay, don't simply to take existing measures and then apply in your study. That is wrong. You have to make sure actually it's related. It's okay to test it. All right, okay? So this is very obvious. Okay, I don't need to go further. The next one, the third one for the second problem is the common method variance. This is common method variance is always happen, not only your papers, but also my papers. Okay, this always happen, but of course we have a ways to do it, how we are going to argue this common method variance. Of course, not after people ask you, then you give this common method variance, but of course before people ask you, you already mention it in your paper or in your thesis. All right, so what is common method variance here? It's happened. For example, I take cross-sectional survey. All right, cross-sectional survey will have multiple predictor and also the criterion variables completed by a single individual. For example, I'm a participant, I'm an individual, I'm going to complete your questionnaire. Is it right? When I'm complete your questionnaire, of course your questionnaire have multiple predictor. What is predictor? Independent variables, IV. a lot of independent variables. IV, you have multiple. And of course, you have multiple variables, other variables, and also the DV. You have so many. Then I have to complete. I'm the one person to complete all these kind of things, right? Okay, so this is like the common methods variance will present here. Why? Because this is a serious threat to interpretations of observed correlation. So it's like people will queries or will say that your data is biased because I'm the one, I've complete all the things, my bias. When I look at the first construct, I say 4. When I go to the second, I say 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. This is bias, right? Because when I look at, I'm the one complete so many things. So, well, this might attract to interpretations of observed correlation. So I will say you complete everything. I have some questions about this correlation between the constructs. So this is a common method variance. Okay, because such correlation may be the result of systematic error variance due to measurement methods, including ladder effects, item effects, or context effects. Okay, so this is a lot of problems. But how you're going to solve this problem, how you're going to test, you are not biased. Your common method variance is okay. So you can use an analysis, another type of analysis, usually introduced by the Posakov, McKenzie, Lee, and Posakov, 2003. One of the paper or one of the methods they are using to reduce the biasing effects. So when you have the data, if you you collect the survey data, all right, then you have to run one of the analysis, that analysis to reduce your biasing effects. Okay, to tell the examiner or the reader that your data is not very biased, but maybe the effects is low, something like that. Okay, so of course we have to run another analysis to help you to decrease this kind of bias. All right. Okay, almost done our workshop. Let's go to see the last one. What is the main problems here? The last main problems we are talking about inappropriate or incomplete model. Means that our model is not complete, all right? Okay, so here, normally the researcher might not include every possible control variable and mediating process in the model. Sometimes we only put IV and DV, that's it, finish. All right, IV, maybe we have 5 IV to test 2 DV, maybe. Okay, IV 5, DV 2, for example. But we forgot we have to have the control variables. We might have some mediator variables in between this. Why IV and DV have some relationship? Maybe in between we have something to make this relationship. So we call it is a mediators variables. Okay, so here normally we miss control variables or mediator variables. Okay, this happen might because the relevant variables may not exist in the database being studied. That's why I say normally happen in the secondary data. When you use the secondary data, maybe some of the analysis or some of the construct of variables is not in the secondary data. That's why you cannot run it. So this is one of the reasons maybe, or the constraint of the survey length. Means that sometimes because you want to make the survey short, so you are missing some important variables in. Okay, you forgot to test other variables in your survey because you want to make it short. Okay, sometimes because too short, then a lot of information missing. That's the problem. All right, okay, but you cannot make it too long because people won't finish it and feel very tired of finishing your survey. So that is very important when it comes to come up with your questionnaire, also one of the big lesson to do. Okay. All right. Okay. So the next one, okay, we say the inclusion of appropriate control allows researchers to draw more definitive conclusion from the studies. Okay, that's why we say if you have your control variables here, this will help us to draw more definitive conclusion. So means like you have like a strong conclusion to tell people this is, I already used the control variables, and then the control variables already control my DV here. So this is the outcomes. People are maybe have more confidence about your outcomes. All right. However, okay, you have to make sure when you want to add these control variables in your framework, in your study, you have to make sure these control variables can meet three conditions. Can meet these three conditions so that they can put in your framework. Okay, what three conditions here? The first one, you must have a strong expectation that the variable be correlated with the DV and the variable. Okay, so you have to make sure your control variable before that means the existing research before. Well, you have studied a lot of literature review, right? Existing study. Now you come up with your DV, right? Now your DV also have a lot of relationship with other variables, right? So now you want to control this DV, you already have what you have to take that control variables that have very strong relationship or correlation with your DVs, which already proved by existing research, means research have before. Okay, so the second one is you have a strong expectation that the control variables be correlated with the hypothesis independent variables. At the same time, not only TV, but also have correlation with the IV. Okay, so this is two. The third one, there's a logical reasons that the control variables is not a more central variable in the study, either a hypothesis one or a mediator. Means that the control variable is not a central variable. You have to make sure, even though your control variable have relationship with the DV, have relationship with the IV, but make sure this your control variable is not a strong, okay, or is not a central variables in the study. You are not focused on this, and your study is not focused on control variable. Okay, your focus is not control variable, but why we need this control variable? We just want to make your data, your outcome is more presentable, more convinced. Okay, but make sure this control variable is not your central variable. Okay, not your styling. Understand? Okay. I hope you can get it. All right. Okay. So, we say the control variables can meet these three. If you can meet these three, then you have to put in your study, right? However, if control variables are included that don't meet this kind of three tests, I mean these three conditions, if you just simply put in without fulfilling those three conditions, this may, hamper, means make some bad influence in your study. Okay, so is that clear? So have to make sure you are following. All right. So the next one, for the third mistake here, the next problem is talk about operationalizing mediators. Okay, mediators, especially in the experiment design, we prefer to use mediators. experiment design. I repeat again, of course, survey data, survey design also, we love to use Mediator, but especially the experiment design, we must have Mediator to make our models better, okay? So usually, the unique characteristics of articles, yeah, normally when we want to submit the articles or whatever, they will expect you to test or build or extend the theory. So not just like telling the same story, not telling the same story as what we have done before, but they want you to test or build or extend theory that which is a bit different, okay? So this is what they expect you. So how to make your papers or your study is a bit different, then you can try to put any relevance mediators and try to run it and test and make your paper a bit different from others. Okay, so the theory alone isn't enough. Okay, my advice here is, it is so important that mediating process must test empirically. Okay, so not only theory to make your study looks different, okay, but also the mediators. Do you have any mediators? Okay, also make your study a bit different. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that's it. Of course, I have more and more, but well, that's it. We are going to end over here so that we can have some time for the Q&A. All right. So this is references. You can go and have a look. This is the references for my study, my sharing today. Actually, I referred to a few papers and few books, okay, and to come up with my slides today. All right, now I'm going to the chat here. I want to see any one of you have questions to me. Let me see. Okay, from Haja, we only use exploratory research for qualitative research. Yes, okay. Normally, people will say, when we are saying, okay, I'm using qualitative research. So that is exploratory research design, something like that. Okay. Then, okay. Okay, Haja again. We only use exploratory research for quantitative research, or is it for both? No. Okay. Better like this. When you say you are going to use mixed method, if you want to use both quantitative and qualitative, then we call it as mixed method. Okay, but you cannot use exploratory research and you are going to say for quantitative research is no. Exploratory research is exploratory research design. That is different. Mostly is qualitative. Okay. So now, basically, the research design should be linked to answer the from Kelvin Young. The research design should be linked to answer the research questions of our study. So research design can be right in chapter 5. Okay, yeah. Okay. Chapter 5. Okay. It's up to you because it depends on you, because some of you can write it in chapter 3. Usually chapter 1 is introduction, chapter 2 is literature review, or we call it conceptual model, okay, or hypothesis, okay, in second chapter, or some of you might put second chapter is literature review. The third chapter will be your conceptual model, the framework and the thesis, and also the hypothesis, okay. And some of you might put the methodology in the 4th chapters. Okay, and the 4th chapters, and then your research design, you're going to write your research design in the methodology part. Okay, as our contributions in research methodology, right? Meaning you highlight the procedures, how to collect the data collection, so other researchers can examine or follow our research design. Well, the contributions in research methodology, you highlight the procedures. No, the procedures here is not the contribution. No, I can't say this is, I can't agree that procedures is a contribution. Okay, I can't agree with this. Maybe you can have a very modified, different procedures, or a more simple or more reliable procedures to collect the data. But for me, this is not a contributions. The contributions here means you are come up with a different analysis, a different methods. You come up with a different methods, a research method to study the existing constructs before. So, for example, the existing study to when you study, most of the people using survey to study that relationship. Use the survey to study A and B relationship. But now you are trying to use experiment to study the relationship and use the different procedures, and then use a different, come up with data analysis that to test the relationship between A and B, then I can say that is a contribution because nobody do it before. But cannot simply because of the procedures. Only one part, a small part of the procedures can be your contributions. All right. The second question from Kelvin. I'm doing quantitative study. I distribute questionnaire to my respondent in scale form. All right, yes. Secondly, I also do structured interview to my respondent because some of them needed guidance to answer questions. So I guide them. So it is considered quantitative research, not qualitative research. Yes, this is quantitative research because you are using the same form. You are using a structured questionnaire and you are using a structured interview. That structured interview actually is based on your questionnaire. Is it right? Because some of them don't understand, then you're going to explain to them. Yes, this is questionnaire. This is still quantitative. All right, okay. So usually we call it, this is a critical incident, or we also can say this is an interview, but interview in terms of survey. All right, okay. The question is, are you happy? Rank your scale 1 to 5. Then not in open-ended questions like answering in words or record the answer in audio form. So means that, for example, your question is on whether you're happy, they can answer 1 to 5. Not in open-ended questions like answering in words. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, just I told you, yes, no. If you ask them the questions, this is interview. Are you happy? Your interview question. Are you happy? Can give me your happiness 1 to 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is high, 1 is low. Which one? So people will say, I'm very happy. I give you 5 maximum. Then you can help him to circle 5. So this is quantitative, not qualitative. Okay. Right. Okay, it's from Kelvin. Third questions. When we want to publish paper in Scopus, ERA, and MySite Journal, can we show the descriptive analysis only? For example, only show the means and respondent profile without showing the t-values and p-values relationship between variables. No, this is you have to show. It's really important. You have to show, especially you have to show the significant values, t-values. Again, of course, the p-value is also important. Okay, how can I buy your idea or buy your outcomes, your papers by only showing me the means and respondent profile. No, sorry, it's not convince me. All right, okay. Experiment study is the same as meta-analysis. No, not same, totally different, two different things, okay? Experiment study is experiment study, as what I told you just now. Meta-analysis totally different. Meta-analysis something like you study the papers that have before. For example, you are studying the happiness, you are going to do a meta-analysis about happiness and students, right? So you study all papers about happiness and students, all papers about this, and then you analyze. You analyze the paper's outcomes. The paper A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all these papers, then you run analysis. You have all this kind of data, you key in your computers using the data, using a statistical analysis, then you run it. You run the data. Okay, so this is, we call it meta-analysis. So after you got the meta-analysis, you have the conclusions. Usually you have the conclusion to tell people that, okay, most of the papers do this and do that, and the outcome is what, all these kind of things. It's not, these two things is totally different. Okay. Okay, the question, next question from Siti Norain. Okay, so means that for quantitative methods is we design first framework and then collect data and do hypothesis, right? No. Okay, for the quantitative method, first you have your problems, right? Your research problems. Then you have your research questions. Then you have your objective, right? Then you have to study all the literature review and all the relevance construct, okay? Then you can come up with your framework, then your hypothesis, okay, to test the relationship in your hypothesis, in your framework. According to the framework, you will come up with your hypothesis and you want to test it, right? So then you come up with your research design. Okay, this is okay. But for the qualitative, you will, your question is, qualitative, we will construct frameworks after collected data. Is it right? Okay, yeah. For example, here, you don't need to have very clear framework. You only can have a very broad information. For example, for the, of course, you need some background, of course, yeah. For example, you have your research problems, that is really important, and then you have your research questions. Then you have some studies to talk about these problems, and also talk about your a bit related to your variables. You already, maybe you don't have very confirmed variables, but you have certain variables to talk about, main variables, maybe main variables. That's why you have research questions, right? Okay, so you have this kind of study. Okay, you have a lot of things. Then after that, when you want to design your research design, you don't have a hypothesis to help you. You don't need to, A must related to B, B must related to C, C might related to D, for example. No, you don't need to do that. Okay, you don't need to do that, but you have some variables, not fixed one. But of course, according to your research problems and your research questions, of course, you have certain variables already. You have already, and then you can come up with your questions according to your research questions, right? Your research objective, and then when you can you design your design. You can design your research and how you're going to run your research, right? So when after that you go to the field, you do the qualitative research, you ask the question, this and that, then after you collected the data, okay, you interview, and then you already completed 50 interviews, for example, and then you are going to transcribe all the interview, and then you run the analysis. Of course, qualitative, you also can use the some of the analysis For example, we can use the what they call it, en vivo, okay, lexical, a software to help you. So after you have transcribed all the data, then you can key in all this kind of data into that software. Then they will come out, they will help you to differentiate the variables. How many times this construct mentioned by the respondent? For example, when the respondent talk about happiness, how many times they talk about happiness, how many times? Then you can know, oh my, this is happiness means related to a good life, for example. They talk about happiness, then they talk about, many of them talk about a good life. Many of them talk about a good career. So means that for you, you can make assumption that the happiness is related to good life and related to the good career. So this is from your interview outcomes. Then you can come up with a model to say that the happiness is come up with this. Then you have to write a lot. You have to support with a lot of literature review talking about this, and then support your outcomes. Then like this. Okay. So this is your questions. Okay. Go back to Siti Norain. Okay. So now we go to the Norain again. Okay. Yes, I already answered your question. Test unit same with respondent. Yeah, same. Okay. Kelvin again. I give our assumptions. Our assumption followed by previous study, which there is a relationship between the variables and backed up by statistical data. Is this okay? Yeah, because that is not your assumption. This is not your. You can make it as assumption, but it's backed up with a lot of existing concept or theory to back up you, right? Okay, to say that this is a relationship. But after that, you have collected your data, then you prove it. Yes, something like that. Yes. Okay. And can we, from Kelvin as well, can we adapt questions from qualitative questionnaire into quantitative research in scale form? Yes, can. Why not? Sure, no problem. This is totally not a problem. This is what I'm doing actually. So in my PhD, all right, so even though I have a backup from assisting scales, I have an assisting scale. When I want to study the relationship, I have existing scale, but I'm not confirmed with this. All right. So I will have interview. I go for the qualitative. Okay. First, I will ask the questions. Okay. Interview the employees. Then after that, they give me some answer. From there, I can understand whether my questionnaire is suitable or not. Okay. So I will adapt some. Yeah. So Ong Yitat asks, is it all research have control variables? How about secondary data research? Yes, this is a good question. Yes, that's why we say some of the secondary data research is not complete, because some, especially you got the research secondary data from the internet, from the reports or whatever, then you don't have the control variables, right? You don't have control variables. So that's why we say, if you don't have the control variables, you have the secondary data research only. Sometimes when you send out your papers, it's up to you how you can argue to inform because you know that usually a good journals, they will ask for it, right? So if you cannot provide it, you have to tell why. You have to justify it, all right? So then, Siti Narayan again, can you share the software for analysis data that you mentioned just now? Oh, you mean for the qualitative, right? En vivo. Okay. And also we have a Lexi, what is that already? Lexi Senko. This one I have to make sure. I have to make sure, because normally people will use en vivo for the interview. Yeah, in UMS we have this actually, en vivo. Sometimes we have, sometimes we don't have, because it depends on the license. Yeah. All right. Okay. Software. Okay. Is from Ismail Maidin. They say, adakah kerangka teori perlu untuk kajian kualitatif? Okay. So for Maidin, Ismail Maidin, he asked whether we need a framework, a theory, a framework to run in the qualitative research. I told you just now. Normally, this is not the main. You can borrow from other people if you want to, but that is not your kerangka. You just say people have studied this before, but that is not fixed yet, okay? Because you don't come up with your first, all right? So you don't need to have it. Actually, we don't require you to have it for qualitative study. Okay, when you want to present it, you don't need to have the kerangka. But after you have your data, you come up with everything, then you need to show people your kerangka theory. Okay, Maidin? Is my Maidin? All right, okay. So others, do you have any other questions? I'm finished the answering the questions, or you want to further questions or whatever.
Hello, good morning, Dr.
Yes.
Chiew.
Yes.
Yeah, so here,
So
I
okay,
just want to say, thank you for giving us very useful for our research. So actually, I want to ask the questions, but
yes.
since this morning you didn't talk much about mixed method. Maybe some maybe you have this knowledge. I just wondering for mixed method, perhaps because when we talk about business performance, since my study on business performance on
Yes.
SME, most studies done using the quantitative study. Perhaps maybe I not yet I did not decide yet and did not discuss yet with my supervisor, but I just asking if I'm doing the mixed method by using the explanatory sequential. You start with quantitative data, and then after that you follow up by qualitative data. As far as I know, for example, if you have the respondent manager, for example, 150 entrepreneurs, okay, you done the analysis, blah 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 blah, and then you need to confirm back your finding, the quantitative, by having your in-depth interview from the entrepreneurs, right? I just wondering, I didn't find any reference says that how many actually is the entrepreneurs out of 150 entrepreneurs, how many actually involved in your in-depth interview? If you have the 150 entrepreneurs, you done the analysis, whatever the structural equation modeling, and then you want to confirm back 150, how many actually involved? You pick them to further understand your research questions or your studies, because from my reading, I didn't discuss yet with my supervisor. From my reading, Creswell mixed method, for example, here from 312 employees, they're giving the employees as example. Yeah. Out of 312 employees, they pick 10 of employees to further investigate. The in-depth interview. So I don't know what is the cut point of taking the right person to I mean, how many of them involved in your in-depth interview? Do you have any advice for this? Yeah,
Okay.
just wondering. I didn't decide yet what actually, but so far, quantitative, I still interested on quantitative. But since a lot of studies done for business performance among the entrepreneurs, more on single methods, so maybe that's what interesting to expand the study, investigate using
different methods, right? Okay.
yeah.
Thank
you, Dr. Chiew.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for your questions. Actually, I think it's good. Right. Actually, I would like to explain from a few things. All right. The first one, I want you to make sure your research questions. Okay, when you come up with your research questions, of course, your research questions is developed from your research problems, right? Okay, so you have your very clear picture about your research problem, the first thing. Then the second thing, you must be very clear about your research questions. Then you come up with your objective, right? Then now you say a lot of people studying about one types of research methods. Then I want to try to make it mix, right? To make it different. Well, my concern is you have to make sure the mapping. That's why I say mix the mapping here. Whether your research methods you are trying to use like a few methods, maybe you want to use survey and also the interview, right? But you have to make sure these two actually answering your research questions. This is the first concern, yeah? I want to make sure this not sorry, not only because you want to make it different, you want to make it special, unique, but you have to make sure whether your research question actually is answering by these two research methods. That is really important. Okay, first thing, yeah. The second one, if you really say, okay, it's matching, or both are okay. So research questions, you can be answered by your interview and also your survey. No problem. Okay, you can answer by these two. So the second concern will be when you want to do these two, your questionnaires and have to back up with the interview you are saying, right? So for example, your quantitative, your survey, when you take the survey, the survey will have some outcomes. And then after that, you use the qualitative to make sure your quantitative actually is convincing. Okay, your quantitative result is convincing. So how you're going to pick the right person to interview? From the 300 employees, how many of them you are going to interview, and how you're going to choose it, how many of them, right? So in here, actually, normally we don't have numbers for interviews, all right? So usually we can say it depends on your questions. Okay, it depends on your questions. How many questions? How in-depth is your questions? All right. So if your questions is short and very, you just need a short answer, then you can interview more people. But if your questions is very long and you require a very in-depth information, then a certain people is good enough. You know why? Because they are working in the same company. Then not means that the more you collect the interview, the more you get the data. No, they say the data actually is saturated. Means that the things will repeat and repeat and repeat again. It's wasting your time, you know. Okay, so they are talking about the same thing, right? So you don't need to interview so many of them. You just choose, like, for example, maybe 20 is good enough or 30 is good enough, then enough. Okay, the more than that, actually the same, the repeating things happen. Okay, so we don't say we don't have a calculation how many of them we have to interview. No, Some of the study actually they just interview 20 or 30. It's up to you. Okay, when you say actually is your data is they are repeating the same thing, then it's enough. When you interview 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 10, when you do the analysis, you need to start to do the analysis. Then after that, you collect another 15 to 20 respondent. When you do analysis, you come up with the same thing, mostly the same, then you can stop already. Okay, you don't need to go further for the interviews. All right, okay, so the things will be the same, repeating. It's no meaning, right? Because why you want to do the interview? Because you want to come up with something different, right? So if the people you interview, they come up with the same thing, what is the point, right? So enough. When you do the analysis, when the data come up, when the talking, the point here is talking at the back. First, of course, the first few interview, wow, you can get a lot of different view because there are just a few of them. So you come up 1, 2, 3, 4, 20 things, different things. But then the next one, you are going to interview more people. Then maybe only 1 or 2 is different. Then you come up 10 plus 2 become 12 already. But after that, you keep interview, they are same in the 12 items. You know what I mean? So can stop. Enough. All right, okay. So you got what I mean?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Chiew. I got one question.
Yes.
It's a simple question. Is about the measurement item.
Yes.
Normally, as previously, maybe my research background is not too strong, but maybe me, I seldom heard about the speakers talking about further detail about the measurement item, the length of the measurement item. Because if we through the previous study, a lot of measurement for your study. So you as researcher, how you going to select this very suitable measurement for your study? That one thing, and moreover, in the measurement item, you got reverse coding item. I mean negative statement. Then if the questions, the measurement item, you pick 3 measurement item, you pick this one from the famous scholars, adopt this question measurement item, and how are you going to address the negative statement? Say, because I didn't attended any workshop further expand about negative statement of measurement item in your study.
Got it.
That's my question.
Yeah, good questions as well. Thank you for your questions. Yeah. All right. Yes, you are right. We got so many measurements, so many scales, so many. Because a lot of people, when they study this, they have this measurement, these 10 measurements, right? How I'm going to choose one, the best one, which one can apply to my studies, right? Okay, so the first thing you have to look at here is whether the construct you are studying, for example, you study about happiness, but your happiness maybe in your context is different meaning with the happiness with other papers. You know what I mean? So the concept here, first, how you're going to choose, you have to really understand the concept you are using. If your concept of happiness is like that, then a lot of papers, they also have happiness, and they have a lot of scales. But you have to really understand the happiness concept for this paper. Okay, so if this paper using the same concept as yours, the happiness, and the measurement scale, you can take it. You know what I mean? You can apply it, you can adapt it. All right, this is the first step. And the second step, you have to make sure the measurement that you adapt here, you are going to adapt, not yet you decide. You are going to adapt. So that is the first step. You make sure the concept is same as your concept. Then the measurement they use is, you can apply it, right? This is the first. The second step is, when you want to apply it, you also have to test it. You have to look at their validity. We call it compa alpha, the validity, right? The reliability. You have to look at their numbers. Whether the reliability test is high or low. If their construct is very low reliability, maybe less than 6, or for me, if the construct reliability test is less than 7 or 6, I don't willing to use it because it's something like not convince me. All right. So if more than 8, then okay. So you have to test as well. This is a second step. You want to see which one is good. Okay. So maybe you can refer, that's why we say you need to study a lot of papers, then you have to compare. This paper, the concept about happiness is what? Your happiness is this. This paper, happiness is what? What is the concept? Then you have to study a lot of things. Then you pick up, you have to take out which concept same as yours, the paper. Take out this paper and compare the construct they are using. If the construct they are using the same repeated concept, they also apply from other people. The measurement, they are using the same concept, the same measurement, then confirm you can use this, no problem. Okay, you know what I mean? So, of course, some of the sentence, maybe you have to restructure the sentence according to your context. Okay, you have to read the sentence, you have to apply, then you have to change it according to your context. So this is the second, right? And the third one, you say some of the items that have a reverse questions means negative one. So that is what do you call it? They just want to test. They just want to make sure the respondent will answer the questions with very genuinely. Means that they are not just tutup mata. They just not close their eyes and then just tick the questions. No. If that's why they put one of the reverse question inside to make sure the respondent actually read your questions properly and answer it with the heart. Okay, the real answer. So that's why they some of the questionnaire, they have this kind of reverse questions. Okay, but this reverse question actually quite help you. Okay, in terms of what, when you want to do what do you call it, screening your questionnaire, means that your data, when you want to make sure whether this questionnaire can be trusted or not. So from there, after you collected all the data, you can cross-check which one the questionnaire they is not consistent with what they are answering. For example, if the positive side, they will answer 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, but the reverse question, they also answer 4. Then this is not make sense, right? So this is totally wrong. So this is actually is good for you. 1 point good for you to cross-check. But this is, of course, has a negative side. Of course, when you run your data, in the system, you might forgot to change it back. You know what I mean? In your statistic, if in your questionnaire, if you have reverse questions, in your statistic, for example, SPSS, you want to record the data. When you want to run the analysis, please, you have to record it. In the system, you have one. Record it means you have to change it back to the positive. Follow what we have before. That's it. Easy. But don't forget to do it. If you forgot to do it, then your data analysis is not right. That means the outcome is not right. Something wrong already. Okay, Sue? I'm answering your questions?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Furthermore, moreover, I guess that's the negative statement. But I attended one of the pre-viva, I guess this week also. I forgot, is it Monday? Yesterday. Yeah, they're talking about one of the examiner asking the candidates, the PhD students, in the first place, why you didn't make it positive statement. When you, I mean, let's say the original measurement is negative statement. Then they ask why at the first you didn't change the negative statement become positive statement. Yeah,
Yes.
what is your comment on
Okay, good questions. Good.
Thank you.
You pinpoint a very good one, actually. You know why? You know why? Actually, why the examinee ask this kind of questions? Actually, why? You know why? Because when these students apply this measurement into their studies, maybe, I'm not sure what one, but from what you are saying here, maybe the students, when they're applying this this measurement into the studies, this measurements, the existing measurement is negative, right? But the construct they are using is talk about positive side, all positive. But suddenly in the construct come up with negative. That's why the examiner will ask this kind of question: why you don't want to do it? Why you don't want to change? Is it all the items is negative or only one item is negative?
One item only negative.
One item, yeah, this is what I'm saying just now. If only one item, actually the examiner not means that want to make in trouble. The examiner just want to test this student whether they can answer the questions. The student actually can answer. If you want to change it to the in the questionnaire, if you want to change it to positive, also no problem. If you don't want to change it to the positive for that one item, you can tell the examiner, because I want to eliminate those participants who are not seriously answer my questions. You want to scan it. You want to make sure the data is convincing. Okay, so this is the answer. They can answer the examiner like that. Or you can say, I changed, even though my questionnaire, I didn't change into the positive, but in my data analysis, this item I already recorded into a positive. Maybe the examiner want to know whether these students in the questionnaire is negative, whether when they run the analysis, whether they change it to the positive to make it the same as other items. When you run the analysis, everything must be in the same mode, okay? For the 4 items is positive, only 1 item is negative. Then when you run analysis, you cannot mix it, 4 is positive, 1 is negative, cannot. You have to make it follow the majority. If 4 is positive, then the negative, you have to record it, change it to positive in the system, in the analysis, statistical analysis, for example, SPSS. Okay, so this is the student can answer the examiners. All right.
Thank you. Last questions, Doctor.
Yeah, no problem.
Last question, Doctor. Just now you mentioned about the length of the measurement, right? So
yes.
Do you have any advice, for example, the original two measurement, you got the 2 best measurement. One measurement, I mean the construct measurement item got 4 item. The other measurement is got 6 item. So what is your advice? Which one the student should choose the measurement item? Is that the 4 item or go for the 6 item? Do you have any advice for this?
Yeah. Oh, you mean
you.
a different measurement, right? 2 different measurement, right?
Same for the same variable, but one question is only 4 questions per item. The other questions from the different authors, 6 items. So what is your advice? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I know what I mean. So whether you are go for the 4 or go to the 6, right? It's up to the as I mentioned, it's up to the your construct. Okay, you have to make sure if your construct here is really is a new construct, or you want to, you know, it's a new construct, then you have to use more variables or items to test it. Okay, for example, if that construct is very common, for example, like job satisfaction. You know what I mean? Job satisfaction. If job satisfaction, people understand job satisfaction is what? From, you can see that, right? It's very understandable, job satisfaction. And this job satisfaction actually is not a new construct. Everybody use it, right? So when you say job satisfaction, you can use 3 items is good enough to test it. But these 3 items must be good one. Can measure this job satisfaction. So you use 3 items is good enough, but cannot less than 3. If or you want to use 1 item, or you want to use more than 3 items, that's it. Okay, cannot less than 3. All right, or if you want to use 1 also good, also can, but you have to have a very strong justification why you use 1, who use 1, why they use 1 items. Okay, that's it. But if you use more items, then if that construct is already very existing and not new construct, for example, job satisfaction, then you can use 3 enough. 3 is good enough. All right. But for the construct that is new, then you need support. You need support to this. Then you need more items to do it. Maybe you can do 4, 6 items, 5 and above, but not more than 8. I mean, not more than too much. Too much also not good. Okay.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Yeah, I have no questions already. Thank you very much for your advice and guidance. Yeah, I stay safe, Doctor. Take
Okay.
care. I miss a lot of our colleagues. I cannot meet because of the COVID, right? So yeah, thank you very much for giving us this morning research design workshop. Thank you very much, Doctor. Yeah, stay safe. Thank you.
Stay safe. See you. Okay, others, no questions, right? No questions, right? Okay, so we end our sessions. Or you want to have a picture? Yeah. Okay, everyone, please open your. I have to stop the sharing first, right? Okay. Do we need to open the camera or we don't need to?
Yeah, please open your camera, please.
You at home?
Yes, Doctor.
Like something like in the office at the background.
Home at home.
Okay.
Start having a library because of COVID-19.
Yeah. Because you are studying at the same time. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
You need this. You have to form a environment, a studying environment, right?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Yang lain tak buka. Others you are not. Haha, I'm using desktop camera. Okay, so fine. Okay. So, Rusetia, is that okay? Hi, Maidin. Is my Maidin?
Hi.
Hi, Muhammad. Okay. All right.
1, 2, smile. Okay, done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you. Bye. Take
Okay.
care.
Thank you,
Goodbye.
Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Bye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys, for your PhD, masters. Bye. Take care.
Take care. See you.
Thanks, Doctor. See you.
Bye.